If you're wondering exactly how this FOMC meeting decision is going to affect the crypto markets, you are absolutely in the right place. Crypto could tank to $74,000 or it could pump to new all-time highs. And there's two different scenarios that I will lay out inside of the technical analysis inside of this video to show you the exact parameters that need to be met in order for either of those scenarios to play out. Now, there are four different scenarios that could potentially happen during the FOMC meeting today. One, we get a 25 basis point rate cut, and we get dovish commentary from the Fed saying that they think that they will continue to cut rates into 2026. That would be very bullish and pump our markets, every single market, S&P, gold, silver, Bitcoin, crypto, all of them, right? Why? Because institutions are going to know that it costs them less money in terms of interest to borrow money from the banks and then pump it into the markets and speculative assets like Bitcoin, like the S&P, right? Second scenario, there is a 25 basis point rate cut, but we have hawkish tone saying that they might not be cutting into 2026 any further. What we will likely see is the markets go down because those institutions are going to start taking profits at the top because they know they're not going to be taking out any more loans to go out and pump it into the markets and speculative assets like crypto, like the S&P. The third scenario, no rate cut, absolutely going to crush the market. Everything is going to go down and Bitcoin is likely to go to about $74,000, okay? And then the last scenario is we get a 50 basis point rate cut, which would be a huge, huge surprise to everyone and a beat. You could probably see Bitcoin going back up towards its all-time highs with an ultimate resistance right here at about $98,500. And once it gets through that level, it is the gateway to new all-time highs. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the charts. I'm going to show you exactly what this means for you and your portfolio. And if you want this analysis every single day, because we've taken so many trades on Bitcoin and crypto inside of the Nordic Alpha community, click the first link in the description. That is where I give you my analysis on a daily basis that prepares you weeks and weeks and weeks in advance, not hours in advance, okay? And it is $29 a month. It is the least expensive that it will ever be. So I would get in there and lock in your pricing right now. So without further ado, let's get into the charts. So what I'm seeing on Bitcoin is this massive, massive upward sloping parallel. This is very bullish. This is very bullish. I think we can all agree upon that, right? You connect it from the lows to the lows to the lows, and you can see you just drag it right up to the highs, okay? So now, what am I seeing? Okay, well, this is our previous all-time high, about $74,000, right? And then you had a nice little range and zone from about $74,000 down to about 50K, even about 48K, but we're not gonna take this wick into account. We'll just say this is our support right there at about $53,000. So you got a nice range down here. Secondarily to that, we are up in this parallel right now, and we broke down from it and back tested it, and we actually bounced from my proprietary deviation zone. Now, I'm not gonna tell you what that deviation zone is because obviously nobody's going to give away some of their best secrets for free, but there's a reason why we bounced here, and this is one of them. And we actually took longs here inside of Nordic Alpha, and I can show you those trades right now because those trades are no longer actionable, and I do not feel bad about showing them to people. So let's talk about some of the trades that we've taken inside of Nordic Alpha. Obviously, I told people, look, we get to the bottom of this parallel and we lose it and we back test it. We are shorting. This was a 35x risk to reward. Let me zoom in on that and show you. 35x risk to reward trade. We took it all the way down to the first deviation zone, the first top of the deviation zone. Absolutely smashed it. Perfect entry, perfect exit, 35x risk to reward, meaning for every dollar that you risked, you made $35 on Bitcoin, okay? Now, not altcoins. Once we got inside of that deviation zone, all we did was we longed it. We longed it right here at a naked VWAP and a naked point of control and the parallels deviation zone. Boom, we bounced it. We sold the top of this move right here for a 3.5x risk to reward. So then what did we do? We flipped short, brought it right back down for a 2x risk to reward on this trade, and then we just waited for it to pump back up. We took the short, took full take profit right here, and this was about a 3x risk to reward trade as well. Then once we got down to the bottom and the deviation zone on this parallel, we literally hit the long for a 5.5x risk to reward. Absolutely critical, wonderful, awesome trade. And now, so we got up to the top, guess what we did? Well, it's pretty simple. We shorted and we brought it all the way back down to right about here for a 2 to 3x risk to reward. And then guess what happened? We got the same trade all over again, and we're already positioned for that potential short. So now let's talk about what could happen that could push Bitcoin to those places that I was talking about, okay? If we come down here and we bounce, which we have been so far, we have bounced from this deviation zone. Say we come back down here and we bounce again because we get a favorable result. There's two different scenarios, right? We get a fade and a bounce, okay? And we start heading up. You're gonna see resistance here at the bottom end of the parallel and at this naked VWAP, okay? That is going to be right at about the $100,000 to $98,000 range, okay? Anywhere from right around here, okay? Depends on where we get up there and when we get up there, okay? Now, if we lose this deviation zone, guess what happens? You're coming down here to $74,000. That is your prior high, and it's now your biggest level of support. Now, if you lose that, you're probably gonna come down to this nice little pivot right here first at about $67,000, which guess what that lines up with? The prior all-time highs ranges, right? So check that out. And then if you lose that, guess what? It gets real nasty. You could be coming down here to about $55,000. Now, the other thing that I want people to understand is that this is definitely a bear flag too, right? And if you break down from here, the likelihood of you coming down to 74K becomes inherently higher if we get a Fed rate decision that is not necessarily what we would call favorable, okay? Now, you're gonna reach a lot of resistance here at the $114,000 level. We have some pretty key, not only do we have highs, but we also have some order blocks up here that we definitely want to see get hit, but we would like to see us blast through those order blocks to then start pumping back up to all-time highs. So if we get that favorable result and the S&P starts to turn around and start pumping to new all-time highs, what you're likely going to see is Bitcoin getting above this parallel, back testing it as support, and then working its way, legging up, legging down to the top end of that parallel. Now you're probably wondering, where's the top end of that parallel? $135,000 on Bitcoin. I mean, this could be a very, very substantial move up. And if you kind of just look at where the resistance could be, you're looking at about $135,000 if you just measure from these highs to these highs, right? So that's what I would be looking at on Bitcoin in terms of where could we be going if we get a favorable move after the Fed interest rate decision today. That's what I would be looking for. I'd be looking for a move back up long-term wise to $135,000. And if we get a bad move, then I'm going to be looking $74,000. That's going to be my first level to say, okay, this is where we're going to find a lot of massive levels of support, okay? And that's where you can start picking up your altcoins, because think about it. If Bitcoin goes down, I mean, that would be, I mean, that's almost a 30% move down for Bitcoin. It's about 20% move down, right? From here, be about 18,000, 20% move down. You're probably going to see the alts fall anywhere from 20 to 40%. They usually do the same as what Bitcoin does or double that, right? So if we see that actually happen inside of the markets, there could be a precipitous fall on those altcoins, which gives us a really, really good buying opportunity, at least in my opinion, to start shifting those bags over into those altcoins for the next potential leg up. Now, we could just run back into that range of $74,000 to $55,000 and get stuck inside of it for quite a while. And at that point, that is where I would start giving out my analysis inside of the NORDIC Alpha Discord and telling people inside of the VIP trading room, here's the levels, here's the trades, here's where we get in, here's where we get out, and we start trading inside of that range and inside of that potential channel. And that's exactly what we do. We're traders. We want to see volatility in the markets, and a lot of times you are going to see that volatility around those FOMC meetings. So if that is something that excites you and that is something that you appreciate the analysis on, give me a like, give me a subscribe, and then boom, bang on that notification bell. Comment anything that you want. Comment your thoughts, your opinions, your analysis in the comments section below. I welcome it, and I welcome you into the Nordic Alpha Wolfpack if you do decide that you want to come in there and banter with us and get the trades every single day on a daily basis, right? For all these different markets, whether it be crypto, equities, the S&P, Forex, metals, commodities, whatever it is, come into the Nordic Alpha private VIP trading room and let my 90% win rate work for you. So with that being said, we will see how the interest rate decision affects all markets as a whole, and everybody have a wonderful day. Make sure you check out my other videos that I just posted on gold and silver and on the S&P and the levels that they could be going to in any scenario after this FOMC meeting comes out. Have a wonderful day.